4:30.
When are we going online?
Yes.
Now.
You will. Okay.
Want something? I see.
You tell me when we start now.
Come. Yes, ready.
Welcome to this live session from the Brahma Kumari studio in Abu Road, Rajasthan. Myself, I'm Golo Pilz. I'm the advisor on renewable energies to the Brahma Kumaris, and I will moderate today's session. In less than a month's time, the climate conference COP29 will be held in Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan. As per the latest climate science, climate change is getting out of control, and we can see a number of heat waves, droughts, storms, and floods rising in numbers. Climate change affects us all, and there are serious implications for the survival of humanity on this planet. On the other hand, it seems humanity's effort to tackle climate change, maybe switch to a clean lifestyle and deal with the injustice in the world, is absolutely not up to the mark. The Brahma Kumaris Climate Initiative has been set up more than 15 years ago and advocates an holistic approach towards the crisis. If I change my mindset and emotions, automatically this will bring a lasting change to my actions. If we connect to our ethics and values, we can recalibrate our inner compass towards a better world. I'm glad to welcome you all for today's session, and I'm glad to welcome also two climate veterans of the climate conferences. I have with me today Sister Jayanti, an experienced yogini with more than 60 years experience and practice, and presently the additional administrative head of the Brahma Kumaris. She also has attended almost every climate conference in the last 18 years. Welcome, Sister Jayanti.
Thank you.
I also like to welcome Sister Sonja Ohlsson. She's the director of the Brahma Kumaris in Denmark and the manager of the Brahma Kumaris Environment Initiative. She has been to all UN climate conferences since the COP15 in 2009 in Copenhagen. Welcome, Sonja.
Thank you.
Welcome also to our global audience. This session is being live streamed on various platforms. Sonja, thanks for being with us today. And you are one of the founders of the Brahma Kumaris Environment Initiative, and over the years have organized many programs at the climate conference. You're basically an insider, we can say. Please tell us a bit about the background, how to get registered with the UN conference, and how the conference actually functions.
Yeah. So thank you for the welcome. And Brahma Kumaris has been affiliated with the UN since the 80s as an NGO with the ECOSOC. But in 2009 we got our accreditation as an observer organization to what is called the UN Convention for Climate Change. And actually the convention started all the way back in '92 in Rio. It was an historic conference in Rio, and where the global community decided to create 3 conventions. One on biodiversity, one stopping desertification, and this on climate change. So we got accredited, and it means that we have to send in our constitution, our paragraphs, our policies, report on environmental activities, and it took 6 months to get accredited.
6 months.
Today it takes 2 years, over 2 years to get accreditation. Yeah, it's a long process. And this convention, it is the global community. COP means conference or parties, so each country in the world sends delegation, normally from the climate change ministry, to negotiate international mechanism to regulate emissions and to stop pollution and how to calculate it. And as an observer organization like us, we have the right to participate and observe the negotiations. We can arrange a side event, we can hold an exhibition and do press conferences. And now there are 4,000 NGOs, and they are divided into 9 different constituencies.
That's an incredible number. I heard maybe 30 to 40,000 delegates will be coming to the climate conference.
Yes,
is that right?
Yes, the biggest climate change conference was actually last year in Dubai, COP28. There was 80,000 there,
80,000.
and there was a big media presence.
Also.
But Brahma Kumari's registration is with Research and Independence, and our secondary is with the youth.
Okay.
And others would be governments, trade unions, farmers, etc. So yes, parallel to this UN conference, which is very difficult to get into, you have events in the city, economic forum, civil society forum, etc. So there are many parallel events happening at the same time.
So it's not so easy to have the overview, and probably quite a lot of paperwork to get into the conference and get programs on the inside.
Yeah. So just one thing more, we helped the faith-based organizations, the spiritual and the religious movement, to organize themselves. So today we have about 50 different religions organized in what is called Interfaith Liaison Committee. So we work together to get the overview and to keep the calm.
Well, that's a great news that religions are uniting, because unity is very important to deal with the climate crisis. Thanks very much for giving us some insights how the conference actually functions. Sister Jayanti, thanks for joining us, and you have been also to many, many climate conferences and probably also many other UN conferences. Why is it important to bring in this spiritual dimension to these conferences, and how this will help the process of transformation and change?
I believe that the actual cause of climate change and the breakdown of the entire ecosystem is a spiritual one. Because when we forget our spiritual identity, we get caught up in our physical identity. Then we forget that we have a responsibility towards nature, towards all aspects of other forms of life. And so we've created destruction for so many different species. We've created the destruction of our own home, which is actually rather strange, because we're supposed to be the intelligent development.
Supposed to be.
And yet other species don't destroy their own home. And we have, through our violence and aggression, we've actually destroyed our home. And so if we can come back to our spiritual consciousness of who we truly are, then with that awareness, we get in touch with our own inner core values of peace, of love, of truth, of compassion. And when we do this, this then reveals itself in our actions. So you can imagine, if we were to remove violence and replace it with non-violence and compassion, it would be a very, very different state of affairs. And so I believe that regarding the self as sacred, the spiritual being, regarding nature as sacred, nobody made nature, we were given nature. And nature has sustained us for millennia. And so it's time to give the return of all the sustenance we have received by giving love and peace and recognizing the sanctity of all forms of life and nature itself. So I think coming back to a spiritual consciousness can bring about change in everything.
That's a wonderful strategy you are just explaining to us. So if we connect to our inner values and ethics, our actions become better and we can bring a change.
Correct.
Wonderful. It's a very interesting idea. Thanks very much. Sonja, you have also been to the COP21 in Paris, I remember, in 2015. And there the famous Paris Agreement has been agreed upon by all nations. It was considered to be a breakthrough. And I think all nations agreed to stay below 1.5 centigrades global warming. It was a bit like a critical number. If we stay below, climate change will be moderate and manageable. If we go above, it will get out of control. Now, since many more years, we have seen the conferences. A lot of water has been flown down the rivers. A lot of paper has been produced, but it seems that the humanity is not able to sort of stay below 1.5 degrees temperature rise, and we will fail that goal, which actually has been agreed by everybody in Paris. Can you tell us a bit what's the main focus of this coming up climate conference in Baku? And what are your expectations towards the outcome?
Thank you for the question. And as you said in the introduction, there is a drastically increased number of extreme weather events. So I hope that these situations all over the world will make the countries really discuss together, cooperation will increase, and that countries don't have that limited self-interest, but more take responsibility for the global commons. So that's my hope for the conference. But in reality, what's on the agenda is to discuss finance. So last conference, it's agreed on a big international climate funding mechanism where all countries will contribute, and where the vulnerable communities who have destroyed infrastructure and climate refugees, they would get money from that fund. And basically, we are talking about the richer industrialized countries, they pollute, and the poorer developing country, they suffer most from climate change.
I think the overall theme is climate justice.
So climate justice is on the agenda, very much so. And this is where in spirituality then we talk about compassion for everyone, no leaving no one behind, etc., etc. And they will also talk about the loss and damage fund, which is the richer countries providing technical assistance to the developing countries. But talking about 1.5 degrees global warming, we're just on the threshold. Some scientists means we have passed it, and from periods it is above. And in Paris it was agreed that all countries would submit their effort to minimize pollution and the emissions, and all their efforts then get calculated so you can see what the future trend will be. So that will be very much discussed in Baku also, because they are called national determined contributions, because when you put all countries' effort together, we will rise far above 1.5 degrees global warming.
The trend actually right now, that's what I heard, is towards 3 degrees.
It's towards 3 degrees.
So we have to agree very fast on a global action to reduce our emissions. And I heard that the countries are a little bit behind with their NDCs.
Yes, they are behind. But also on this conference, we have wars in the world now, and the number of wars are critically increasing in size and effects. So peace will also be on the agenda. I hope so, at least, so we can discuss peace. And also this growing climate anxiety and fear in the world, so we need to sort of address these softer topics also.
Okay, so that's a bit the expectation towards the outcome. Thanks very much, Sonja, for sharing what's going on actually at the conference and what we all hope will come out. Sister Jayanti, in order to deal with climate change, humanity has to unite, and together we all have to reduce drastically our emissions. There's no doubt about it now. And if we look right now at the world stage, we can see conflicts and division are on the rise actually. Just the conflict in the Middle East is brewing up. And how important is a stable and peaceful world to move forward? And how is this connected to us as individuals? Can you enlighten us a bit on that?
The situation that we are seeing in the world is that where there's war, there's absolutely no concern for the climate or concern for the ecosystem. We're tearing apart all the infrastructure everywhere that we've created, and is it ever going to be put right again? If it is, it's going to cost a huge, huge amount of time, money and energy. And so we're also heating up the whole earth with our missiles and weapons. And so I think that this has really set back humanity a few steps in our journey towards zero emission. Apart from that, of course, when there's a war going on, then the last thing you're concerned about is trying to reduce electricity or trying to have a diet which is plant-based. You just eat whatever is available. You don't really have a choice. You know, we're fortunate in that we have many choices, and we just need to be aware of what is the impact of our choices. But in a situation of war, there's no such choice. And so I think that all the circumstances of today's world are really pushing us to beyond 1.5, and war is a very big factor in that. The whole of normal life is disrupted, and so where there's a peaceful, stable society, then you can think about more creative things and how can you change your lifestyle, how can you become non-violent, how can you have plant-based diet. So peace in the world and the environment are very deeply connected. And where we see that it's gone by the wayside now, what is my contribution? I have to be really deeply thinking about, can I contribute in a positive way, so that then the vibrations that I emit are going to be able to create a peaceful world. And if it was just me alone, I'd say it's impossible. But there must be millions of people across the world who now use time for prayer, time for meditation, time for positive thinking, to be able to send out good vibrations of non-violence to all the superpowers that are in one way or another involved in the whole scenario. They say it's a war by proxy, and so it's not that the antagonists are facing each other, but they're working underground, incognito, through other countries. And so it's a very difficult time, but all the people who know the power of prayer and the power of vibrations are joining together to share peace with the world. So if I can meditate myself or pray for peace, that's good. But if I can link in with a group that's already doing this, that makes it that much more powerful. The energy multiplies and spreads out even further. So I think that there's a lot that each individual can do, but the important thing is that we bring back peace into the world.
That's a wonderful message, that the individual actually has a choice, can create peace within, can create peaceful vibration around us, and if we all join hands together, we will have some impact. And the good news is that I think 70 to 80% of the world population are sort of connected to one or the other faith-based system. So there's a lot of people around the world. If they all join hands, I'm sure we can create such an atmosphere to bring a lasting change and to support peace initiatives also around the world.
We're very lucky that some time ago, when Christiana Figueres was the executive secretary, she actually set up a system so that there could be a coalition of faith-based organizations. And so the faith-based organizations work through the year on a very practical level, coming together to create peace initiatives and environment initiatives. But now especially faith-based organizations, not just working nationally but working internationally, are beginning to come together in a very strong way.
I heard there's also a faith pavilion in Baku, and Brahma Kumaris is part of that, and let's hope that this initiative will have some inspiration for all the world leaders who come together there to understand how important peace is, that peace is the foundation to deal with the crisis. Thanks very much. It's a good insight. Sonja, the Brahma Kumaris is, let's talk a little bit about practical action on the ground, and the Brahma Kumaris is active in the last 30 years in the research and development of renewable energies, but we also run various environmental friendly initiatives like yogic farming, tree plantation campaigns and so on. Can you share a bit what has been done on the ground and how such projects actually can function as a blueprint for a better future?
So it's interesting you're asking me this because it's actually thanks to you. We have done 30 years of research in solar energy, and you were the person who initiated that. And we also have India One solar thermal power plant, and we are helping the centers, especially in India, to use clean technology. And we cook with the power of sun for 30,000 people. It's just amazing. And as you mentioned, also yogic farming, it means that we add the power of thought to ecological farming. And that has been done together with universities, and some study they showed we have increased yield and nutrition.
I see.
And thousands of farmers are using it, and we have empowerment programs for the farmers. And the tree plantation was actually started 30 years ago, and we have planted millions of trees through education wing, through the rural wing.
That's
but there
wonderful.
really no record, so our latest project is Kalptaru, where we actually do count the number of trees we plant.
I heard it's more than 2 million now.
Yes,
That's
and we have an
wonderful.
app. You take a photo and you upload on the app. It's just amazing. And as you mentioned before, we started our environment initiative in 2009, and that has a twofold purpose. One is to green our own institution, and we do that with policy, retreat, talks, activities, certificates, audits. The other purpose is to participate in conferences and advocate a change of mindset, a sustainable lifestyle. And what is the inspiration to the world about this? And I think you mentioned, Sister Jayanti, the power of prayer and meditation, etc., and which is quite profound. But adding these practical examples, we are showing the world that we do meditate, and that's the most important, but we also do practical things on the ground. And the combination of those two actually makes people believe in the power of meditation even more. And we share workshop templates, processes, also technology free of charge, which is a big inspiration. But what I found is the biggest inspiration of all is this combination of the old sacred principles. You talked about respect, the sacredness of life. We combine the old principles with the newest technology. So this combination of old sacred spiritual principles with innovation and new technology is a totally unique combination, which is a big inspiration for many.
That's a very lovely idea, to give a sacred guidance to technology, because technology can be used for good things and for bad things. And I always feel we have actually all the means and the technology there for a bright, beautiful future. It just needs guidance. It needs ethics and values. How nice. Wonderful that Brahma Kumaris is doing so many projects in the areas. It's such a long time, and I'm sure people will be inspired when they come here, see our campuses. And I understand also many centers in India. Brahma Kumaris has approximately 5,000 centers in India. They are adopting now a green policy, installing a renewable energy system, doing waste. We started also, I heard, waste segregation now with a biogas plant.
Yeah, I forgot the biogas plant.
And now many people come to us from municipalities and says, oh, Brahma Kumaris, please build a biogas plant for us. We say, hello, we give you the design, but you have to build it yourself. So it's a good inspiration also for municipalities, for cities, to clean up the waste places, which is a big problem in India. Thanks very much, Sonja, for sharing all these good initiatives. Sister Jayanti, recent reports are quite alarming, and many people have lost hope to reverse climate change. Anxiety and depression are on the rise, especially among the young and the youth. How can spirituality build up inner resilience, and most important also create hope?
I think the only way forward is through spirituality, because I don't think there's any external means to be able to build resilience. And as things get more and more difficult for everybody, not just in one part of the world, but around the whole world. We're going to need to have spiritual power inside to be able to face all these challenges of natural disasters that are really increasing all the time. So I think that meditation is very much a way through creating inner power so that we're able to be resilient and bounce back and be able to maintain our own inner stability so that we can deal with all of these external challenges. And spirituality teaches us something that science cannot teach, and that is that the soul is eternal. The soul cannot die. And yes, we're going through a period of great darkness, but beyond the dark there is light. It's never a situation that the darkness continues forever and ever and ever. There comes a point when the darkness gives way to the dawn, the sun rises, and then there's the day. And so I believe that we are at this transition point in which we are seeing extreme darkness, but we are also seeing many signs of people turning to a new perspective, a new way of thinking, and a new way of being. And what gives me special hope is that young people in particular are very interested to see how they can support their own future. They're angry that adults haven't left them a legacy of a planet that was as clean and pure as when we found it. We've actually poisoned the air, the earth, everything. But because there is hope for the future, in that there is a day that is ahead, and when young people come to the spiritual understanding of this, then they intensify their efforts to bring in the light. You know, you don't have to fight the darkness, you just have to light a candle, and the candle is able to spread light. And
wonderful.
so when I allow myself to be the candle in the dark, then that anyway is an inspiration to many others and offers hope to others. So each one of us is responsible to bring in light into our own homes and families, but also share that with others around us. So yes, I absolutely believe that the future is a beautiful one. It isn't that it's all going to end and fini, but I think that through all of these trials and tribulations, we are learning many lessons. We are learning to have respect for ourselves, respect for nature, respect for each other, and I think that that's the way ahead.
That's a very beautiful message to sort of lit the candle and remove the darkness. And I understand in India there's also this concept of a new age coming. In India it's called the Sat Yuga, the age of truth. And I remember the Greek, they called it the golden age, and in Christianity it's called the paradise. Isn't this a beautiful message of hope and positive outlook to the future, that some bright, wonderful, happy world is coming after all these problems we are seeing right now? And I think that's a strong message of hope and also gives strength and inner resilience to deal with all the situations. Thanks very much for sharing all these points. And we're slowly coming to end of our session, and I feel it would be very nice to sort of, if there's a possibility, we all together have a meditation, to have also a practical experience and to create also the atmosphere of hope and strength. Sister Jayanti, could you please guide us for a couple of minutes in a meditation?
Sure, and it's a very simple form of meditation. You don't have to make your mind blank or sit in a special posture. Just sit comfortably wherever you are. I'll share my own thoughts as I meditate and invite others to follow these ideas. Going on an inner journey, I visualize a spark of light in the center of the forehead. And as I focus on this, I can feel the energy of the living being that I truly am. And as I go deeper and deeper within myself, I come to that space where there is peace. It is a profound realization to know that peace already exists within me in my own inner sanctum. Having come to that space in this awareness of peace and the awareness of my spiritual being, my spiritual identity, it's as if I'm tuning my awareness, my consciousness to the wavelength of the divine, the supreme, the source, the being of light. I'd forgotten myself, and I'd forgotten my connection with the divine. Now, as I remember, the power of love, the power of peace, the power of purity reaches the soul. And in this awareness, I know that it's possible to bring peace into this world. It's possible to transform the planet and create a place of natural beauty once again. Holding this consciousness and this awareness, I come back to the awareness of the physical moment of time and place, but now with my energy recharged and the light within reignited, so that I can move forward with peace and strength. Om Shanti.
Thanks very much, Sister Jayanti, for this wonderful experience, and we all could feel how the atmosphere was changing, and relaxation, vibrations of peace, love and compassion really came to all of us, and this is a very wonderful experience. And I think if we practice all regular meditation, the world will become definitely a better place. So thanks very much, Sonja, and thanks, Sister Jayanti, for joining us today. And thanks also to the global audience for being with us all the time. And I hope you got a glimpse, you got a bit of inspiration how to deal with climate change and what is going on at the next climate conference in Baku. Thanks also to our technical team here in the studio for setting up everything for streaming. We have a lot of cameras and technologies on the other side. And we are preparing already since many months for the coming up climate talks in Baku. And if you enjoyed our discussions, please join also the coming interview series, Climate Wisdom from COP29, live from Baku. We will have more than 20 live streams with scientists, politicians, activists, and spiritual leaders. More information you will find on our webpage, www.echo.brahmakumars.org. There's also possibility to send us an email. Please send us your suggestions. We're always very happy to get some feedback from all of you. So thanks again to everybody here. Thanks to the helpers in the studio, and goodbye from India, and hope to see you soon in Baku in 3 weeks. Thanks very much.